Starting week 3 with my fruit smoothie and my water, electrolytes, and creatine. Here we go, kicking off week 3, build the base. I am really excited for the week ahead, but I feel like these past 2 weeks, I did exactly what I needed to do. I needed to ease myself into this weight loss journey. And I know all of us do things differently. There's times in the past where I just go balls to the wall day one. And then there's times like this where I wanted to prove to myself over the past 2 weeks that I could, consistently go to the gym, consistently eat well, improve my sleep, keep the stress down, just make this part of my life as opposed to taking over my life. And I'm happy with those results. So now I'm ready to add another layer onto things. Right? And so with weight loss journeys, you have to, in some ways, at some point, have a, targeted like calorie and protein range. That's my opinion. That's how I do things. So I've established what my calories will be this week. I think is 1,650 in that range. And then also my protein goal is going to be around 140. Key thing is that it's around because this week is a reintroduction into this. Right? So I'm not going to expect perfection on week 3, adding these in. I am just going to take everything that I have done these past 2 weeks, the meals that I love, the breakfast and the lunch, and the rotation of dinners over the past 2 weeks. I'm going to roll them over into this week, but I'm going to track it. I'm going to weigh my food. I'm just going to track what I'm eating. So at the end of the week, I could get a rough idea of what it looks like for me. Instead of instantly going in and making major changes, I'm going to observe this week. I'm going to observe everything that I'm doing. And then I'm going to, the next week, add that additional layer where maybe I'm not getting enough protein and I just eat a little bit of chicken or a little bit of steak or a little bit of shrimp or a little bit cottage cheese or a little bit of yogurt, or, you just add a little bit more of your serving to be able to hit those things as opposed to, completely overhauling everything. And I love this approach for me, and I'm excited for this because I feel like it's not going to take over my life or consume me in any way. I weighed in this morning at 189. I have a goal of losing 20 pounds working with ChatGPT. I will take you along with me with the prompts and everything in some future videos. But for now, I started this morning, which is funny, you already saw I had my protein shake and my water with electrolytes, and I completely forgot to put my hemp hearts in it. Monday morning, things happened. So with my coffee, I just threw a little bit of protein powder in there just to add an additional, I think 10 or 15 grams of protein to my day so far. So I'm using the app called Lose It. I'm going to put everything in there. I'm going to build some meals out there so that my life is easy, that I could just plug and play some things. And that's going to take a couple days for me to kind of build that out as I, start tracking some things. But I don't feel, consumed by this. I'm rolling over the same, strength training sessions. I'm rolling over the same run walk sessions. All of that's being rolled over. Just this additional layer is now giving me insights into my calories, how much I'm eating on a daily basis, and how much protein I'm consuming. Those are the only 2 areas I care about. Carbs and fat, they can be whatever range they need to be right now. And I'm just going to see week over week when I weigh in, what does that scale look like? If I lose X amount of weight, maybe I need a little more calories. If I'm not losing enough, maybe I dip it down at some point, to 1,600 calories or 1,550, or there's different little areas that you can work with. But right now, that's my base, my next layer to everything. And I'm going to probably track for, the next week or 2 and see where I'm at. And I think you can get into a good rhythm in a couple weeks where you don't have to necessarily track everything. But I think this is a good exercise for me. It's a next progression on things. And I'm just excited to see what, week 3 brings. So got to get back to, work, got to log in, got to start my day. But ready to just see, like I said, see what this week brings. Here is my lunch today. I have some cottage cheese, cucumbers, peppers, some little bit of pistachios, little block of Parmesan snacking cheese. I wanted a couple pretzel crisps because I had them left over from the weekend, so I'm gonna dip it in the cottage cheese and also some of my amazing bone broth because it is like 2 degrees here right now. Monday check on Rosie. Still on her heating pad. She'll stay there all day. Tonight's dinner is ready. Steak, potatoes, broccoletti, and some shiitake mushrooms, which is a plain sparkling water. This is going to be so good after a tough lifting session. It's almost wind down time. I am on the couch for a couple minutes before I go take a shower with my pup and just, thinking about how the day went. And this was a great start to the week. One of the things that I did when I was at the gym is that it's another layer on Build the Base where I know what my strength training days are. I do it 3 days a week. I know what my exercises are. Today I wrote down what my baselines were. What's my starting weight? What is my starting weight at lat pull down? And I can only max out at 8 right now. So that I know once I start getting 3 sets of 12, it's time for me to go up. And I'm really just trying to do things the right way for me and learn what progressive overload is and just learn everything about, the different muscle groups and why I'm at the gym, doing this certain routine and just having fun with it. But then also another thing for today that's a little bit different from the past 2 weeks is that I started logging my food in the Lose It app. And so today I had 1,517 calories, which is a little bit under my allotment that I worked, just trying to research and do all these different things to figure out what my calories for the day should be, trying to be in a very small calorie deficit. And it was 1,650 around that. So I have a little wiggle room there. I'm not making any drastic changes. And then also my protein was 121 grams. That's the area I would like to improve over time. But I'm not making any changes for, tomorrow, the next day. I have my meal plans mapped out. So I think by the end of this week, I will be able to sit down and have a little bit of an overview of the different meals that I'm eating and whatever additional changes I can make to them for me to hit my goals. But I'm not trying to then go into tomorrow, make any drastic changes knowing that I fell 19 grams short of protein today. What could I do? Should I go grab a barbell? Should I have a protein shake? Should I do all these different things? And it's like, no. What you're going to do is you're just going to take it day by day, and then over the weekend when you map out your weekly plan on Sunday and your meals, you'll have a better idea of these little additions you can make, to breakfast or to dinner to be able to just bump up your protein and not throwing in like a million other different things. And next thing you know, now you're way over calories. But yep, it's time for me to, somebody's making a little bit of an appearance, but it's time for me to wind down and get ready for another day. I think it was a great start to the week. Breakfast is ready, water, electrolytes, and creatine, and then just a fruit smoothie. I remembered my hemp hearts today, and I added a smidge bit more Greek yogurt just to get the protein up. And live look at Rosie doing her morning activities. My lunch today is exactly the same as yesterday. Bone broth, cucumbers, peppers, a little bit of pretzel crisp because while I have them, I got cottage cheese, a little piece of Parmesan cheese, and my sparkling water. So back from the gym, got my food in the air fryer, and I have 2 things I want to talk about. The first one, and I'm going to keep it brief because it could be a little TMI, but today was a run walk session. And I definitely need to work on some pelvic floor exercises and just strengthening my abs. When I was done with my run walk, this constant feel like I had to pee the entire time, even though I peed before I started running and I didn't drink a lot of water beforehand, it was just really frustrating and annoying. I was on the massage table kind of already starting to look up a couple things that I want to start doing and taking maybe the next like 2 or 3 months to also really focus on certain movements that will strengthen my core, but also just kind of learning a little bit more about like pelvic floor exercises. And so that, you know what, I hate to say the phrase, it is what it is, but right now I just have to have a plan and I just have to, you know, slowly each day work on certain things so that I can run and not worry about having to pee myself. Just keeping it real here. And then the second one is I went into Wegmans because I needed to pick up some yogurt and cottage cheese because, well, one, we just came off of a storm, food stores wiped out. 2, we could potentially have another one forming this weekend. Pandemonium's gonna hit probably the next day or 2. I just wanted to make sure I had some yogurt and cottage cheese on hand. Boring stuff right there. And I also got some shrimp and I need some taco seasoning for tomorrow night. But I was like, just go in and get those items and leave. Would have worked if I didn't spend about 5 to 6 minutes going from where the cookies are to where the chips are, then over to where the donuts are, going, ooh, my favorite donut, there's one left, it's meant to be. And then I'm like, no. And then going over to another area and I'm just like ice cream or something. I'm like, it's freezing, you don't want ice cream. And I think like if somebody watched me on the camera, they would see me going from like dinner's ready, going from one thing to another. And I thankfully walked out without anything, but that's just really annoying. And there's no way to avoid it. There's no way to avoid going to the food store. Yes, I could have groceries delivered, but I'm not gonna pay like double the price for things when I can literally walk to one. But definitely something, one, I would call my first non-scale victory of the week, being able to walk out without that. But what a waste of 6 minutes just constantly going, oh wait, you worked out really hard the past couple days. You've been doing really good. Your numbers look good on the scale. You could have a donut. It's fine, just have a donut. It's Tuesday. You don't need a donut. So still need to work on that. Can't seem to get some of that to quiet, even though I was able to thankfully walk out of the store. But my dinner is ready and I am hungry. And here is tonight's dinner, not plated very well. Some chicken thighs, potatoes, broccolini, and mushrooms. All of this left over from last night, but I just have a little bit of Mission Barbecue chicken seasoning and also another plain sparkling water. So yeah, this is my dinner. Here's today's breakfast: fruit smoothie, water, electrolytes, and creatine. Same thing, just a new day. Rosie in her natural habitat, playing with her meatball toy. We'll see how long this one lasts. All right, so it's lunchtime. On this Wednesday, I got my bone broth, and then I got my typical plate: cottage cheese, peppers, cucumbers, little block of Parmesan cheese, and some pretzel crisps. I'm going to retire these after the bag is done. I think I have another day, maybe day and a half. Maybe I could stretch it out till Friday. I don't know. But I'm definitely on what I'm gonna call the struggle bus today. It's just constant. Like, I'm busy with work, but I'm just like, I can't kick the Chick-fil-A. I want Chick-fil-A, I want Chick-fil-A. And I can actually kind of get to Chick-fil-A and like, I could walk there if I wanted to, or I could get there in like a minute or two, but I'm like, no, stop. So I don't know what's happening. I feel like the past like 2 days with the food noise is kind of reared its ugly head a little bit, and I'm like fighting through it, and that's okay. I have good days and bad days. But I feel like, as random as it sounds, just throwing some pretzel crisps on my plate, I think is going to be like the thing to just kind of help me a little bit. But definitely have to get back online, a lot of work to do. But I feel like today is going to be one of those days where I really have to lock in and just stick to my plan. And I know sometimes we talk a lot about, white knuckling things, and you don't want to constantly like feel like you're fighting yourself. But I know today is going to be one of those days, and I just want to push through like I did yesterday at the food store, walking around for 6 minutes. Just everything that I wanted to eat but thankfully I said no, and I'm hoping at the end of the day today, that's the same thing, but I wanna get my lunch in, and I might have a Bearbell later, or at least half of one, to maybe also kind of think like it's like a candy bar in a way before I go to the gym. Just trying to substitute in some other things that maybe could help me along the way, because I think today is gonna be one of those days where I just have to really stay on top of things. About 2:45, decided to have a Bearbell. All right, so I'm back from the gym. Dinner is ready. I felt like that was a really good leg session today. Definitely upped the weights a smidge. I'm starting to track my kind of like my starting weight this week. I enjoyed using, so like there's a, glute machine, hip thrust machine, and they had this like glute master machine. It's fairly new. They got it last month. I used it for the first time today. I absolutely loved it because it was very, like it could cater to your movement, and I don't know, it just felt natural. But I also didn't know how much weight to put on that. So I went a little bit on the lower end for that, but now I know what I can kind of grow and build up to next week and the week after. But for tonight, I am doing something that I'm hopefully will like deceive me into thinking, oh my God, that's so much food. You're not hungry. What are you doing? Because I'm battling some things today. But I was only going to have some leftover chicken thighs, corn, and potatoes. But like I said, I'm just feeling a little bit hungry. So I was like, let me up the protein. Protein to me keeps me a little bit more satiated. So I threw on some Old Bay shrimp. So this is quite a meal. I also put in a little bit of a smaller bowl so it looks like there's so much food in here. But I'm ready to eat this for dinner and then have a little play session with my pup. It is still so cold outside, but I think I'm gonna go visit a neighbor, see how she's doing, and then just once again, slowly start to wind down for the night because it was a little bit of a busy day at work towards the later half, but nothing I couldn't handle. Look at this little angel. She has her moments. When she's not being a terror, she is just the sweetest little thing. I always say she's real good when she's not being bad. But let me tell you, I am ready to start my wind down routine. I got my glasses out and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do my skincare. I'm just gonna tidy up a little bit around here. And I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna relax, I have a little bit of editing to do. And I look at the time and I'm like, it's 6:30. It is only 6:30 at night. That's it. But I feel like it's so much later. But this is a time where I just have to tell myself, you know what? You've done everything you needed to do today. You've checked everything off the list. And you just go, do what you need to do, start your wind down, got a little bit of editing to do, throw something on the TV. And sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to start your wind down routine at 6:30 at night. I mean, Rosie's already passed out, so I think that's a good sign. Same breakfast, different day. Fruit smoothie, water, electrolytes, and creatine. And today I am back on the lemonade salt. Today's lunch is looking really pathetic. But this is what I feel like right now. I got a little bit of pretzels, cottage cheese, peppers, a piece of Parmesan cheese, and my bone broth, which will come in handy because it is 4 degrees right now. What a day it has been. It is only lunchtime, and I'm holding my bone broth just to keep me warm. But I'm surprised that my sleep score was 97% last night because I was probably up every 2 or so hours. with my dog who wasn't feeling the greatest. She's feeling a lot better now, but she goes through these things every couple months. It's a French bulldog. Sometimes they have a little bit of like indigestion or acid reflux, and you give them a Pepcid, not giving medical advice or vet advice, and she feels a lot better. But last night she had quite an attack of it, and it took a little bit longer for the Pepcid to kick in, but you know what? She's feeling better now. That's all that matters. My lunch, I want to say, I'm starting to get a little tired of it. I think if it was an every other day thing, I'd be thrilled. Or even if this was like a snack plate, I would be even more excited. So I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and just trying to think of what I could do at lunch to maybe switch it up a smidge next week and get back into a little bit of a rotation. Smoothie will stay the same. But I think that's the important thing to do before I start getting to the point where I'm like frustrated and I don't want to eat anything at lunch, then I'm eating things I don't need to. But I think that's one of the things I'm going to work on this weekend when I start doing like my Sunday prep, writing my meal plans, figuring out foods I need to get to the food store. I think I'm going to go back to a little bit of a tried and true classic from the past for lunch, but I'm still thinking it through, but stay tuned for what that could be. But got to head back online, got some more work to do. And I'm also a little hungry today, so I'm definitely gonna crush this lunch rather quickly. Tonight we whipped up some tacos. I am having 3 of them. Simple, just the siete taco shells with some ground beef and cheese. I didn't add a lot of fixins to this. I don't even feel like guacamole. And then my sparkling water. About to sit down and have my tacos. I just wanna say that I never made it to the gym tonight. But on a positive, today was supposed to be a run walk, but I made the decision, since I lifted really heavy yesterday and my legs were very, very tight, that I was just gonna walk. And I was like, I'll do an incline walk at the gym. And I think somewhere along the lines of logging out from work and heading towards the gym, I was like, it's not that cold out. It's 11 degrees. But I was like, oh, it's not that cold out. I'm bundled with the hat and the gloves. I'm just gonna go for a nice walk around the neighborhood, get some fresh air, some sun while it was out. About 30 minutes into that walk, I started second guessing the decision, but the positive is that I got the 45 minutes in. I'm a little bit over, I think 14,000 steps for the day, which is really good. I don't have a step goal yet, keyword yet, but I think overall making the decision to go for a nice walk was the right thing to do. Yes, I'm still thawing out. My hands are still a little bit on the cold side, but I don't know. I needed a little life. I needed to see some life out there. I just needed to get out, get some fresh air. And it was a really, really good walk other than the fact that it is very, very cold out, but I definitely worked up an appetite today. So I'm gonna eat these tacos and then have a little bit of playtime with my pup and hopefully wind down in a decent hour tonight. All right, I am starting this Friday slightly different. I am not very hungry this morning, but I do like to get protein in as soon as I get up. So I have my water, electrolytes, creatine, and I made a protein coffee. So just decaf coffee, a little bit of whole milk, and I am trying Levels whey protein double chocolate today. I'll let you know how it is. And Rosie, patiently waiting to play. Just having a little bit of cottage cheese and some pretzel crisps right now. This may be one of the best Fridays that I can remember in a very, very long time. Probably because it is not pure pandemonium and chaos at work today. I got up and I settled right into the day. I'm just progressing through my tasks. So far, have not had to put out any fires. Still have half of the day left. Anything's possible, but I don't care. I'll take it. The only bad thing that has happened so far today is that protein coffee was not up to par. I think I only drank maybe 2/3 of it. I couldn't. I think where I went wrong, I don't think it was the Levels chocolate protein. I don't think it was the coffee. I think it was that I put ice in it and it watered it down a little bit. It just didn't It just wasn't good. I did the best I could to drink as much of it as I could. I was able to get a little bit of a snack in the morning because I didn't have that much of a breakfast. I just didn't feel like my smoothie this morning. So I had some pretzels with some cottage cheese. Perfect. Now I'm having my lunch, which is my fruit smoothie. And then later I might make like a bone broth and maybe some veggies or something. I don't know yet. Today, going slightly off script other than my dinner. And that's okay. You have good days and you have bad days. I'm going to talk a little bit about how this week went when I wind down this evening. But overall, I have a strength training session to do later, and then just a couple little things that I have to take care of, have my dinner, and then just ease into the weekend. It's still going to be cold. Right now it is currently, this morning when I logged in, it was 4 degrees. Oh, it's getting a little warmer. 6. Yeah, 6 degrees. And I am drinking a smoothie. Whatever. So great work day so far. Just trying to get some sort of food in me because I'm just not feeling hungry. Today is shot day. Still on semaglutide. This will be my second shot. Have not noticed a change. I have nothing to report on that yet. And I probably will do a dedicated video on it. But right now I'm like, I don't have anything. Like, I don't really notice any changes really yet from going from Tirzepatide over to semaglutide. But I know that, I'm only a week into taking it, and it might take a little bit of time for, whatever effects to kick in. And we also did not like crank that dose up a little bit too high for me to start. So I'm easing into it, but gonna enjoy my smoothie. Gonna go try to play with my dog, who is currently just laying in her sunspot. Oh, the life of Rosie. Maybe I'll join her because I could use a little warmth. Sometimes it's really hard to go to the gym when she stares at you on your way out. I'll be right back. Don't judge on the appearance, but I got some peppers, got some leftover taco meat, and I did a little bit of shredded cheese on some Siete chips, and this is dinner tonight. What is that face? You giving bottom snags?
This is kind of crazy sometimes.
Well, here we are Saturday morning. The night got ahead of me. I didn't get a chance to recap. I got very, very tired last night. And I just was like, you know what? I will give a recap in the morning. There was a lot of things that I wanted to digest from the week. And I'm kind of happy I just waited a little bit to kind of wrap up this week's video. But the very first thing I want to talk about is my food, right? So there's 2 things. The first is when I was uploading footage, I realized my portions were a little bit too high on like potatoes, or like, the pretzels, like more of I call it the bonus things in my meal, the non-priorities. They kind of crept up a little bit. And even though like I was tracking for most of the week, I could do better there. And I'm going to do better there, which then I just said about tracking. So I tracked Monday through Thursday and I did not track yesterday. Why? Because I'm not ready to track. I'm not ready. Gonna be completely honest. I'm a firm believer in food journaling, food tracking, weighing your food when necessary. Make sure you're not eating too much or too little. Primarily, I just like to make sure I'm getting enough calories and enough protein. But I felt like it threw my rhythm off this past week. And I'm not looking to make excuses or anything, but I just felt like I'm making my smoothie. I was like, okay, I got to get the scale out. Now I got to weigh the yogurt. I got to weigh the almond milk. I got to weigh the berries. I got to weigh the seeds. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I was just like, at that point, I was like, I really don't even feel like my smoothie anymore. So I think what I'm going to do with those two things, the very first one with portions and the second one with tracking is I'm not going to track this week. But what I'm going to do, for example, with dinner, if I have some brown rice or potatoes, I'm just going to take out a measuring cup, a half a cup, and that's what I get. I'm going to keep it that simple. I'm not going to, ask ChatGPT for perfect portions. I'm not going to weigh. I'm not going to do any of those things. I'm just going to be like, you know what? If you want rice, you want pasta, you want potatoes, whatever fits in a half a cup, that's what you get. But you need to work on your protein. So those are just little minor changes. I have to just think about what makes this journey easier for me instead of what makes it harder. And I felt like this week, just weighing things kind of threw me off. And that's okay. The next thing that I want to say about food is I was really tired of my lunch. Even though it was good and I ate that, I just got tired of it. I love the cottage cheese. I'm still going to eat that. I don't enjoy that I was eating pretzels with it. There's no nutritional value whatsoever to those. There's none. They're not. I shouldn't even be eating them. But on occasion I can, but not every day for lunch. So there are certain parts of my lunch I liked and the certain parts I'm just over it. So I'm kind of making a tweak for my lunches next week. I have a really fun idea, some things I want to make this weekend. So stay tuned. If I actually make them, you'll obviously see them in my next vlog. But I definitely want to just switch up kind of my breakfast and lunch items this week to kind of just reset and just progress into week 4. And then 2 more things. 1, my steps. I felt my steps were really low this week. I don't know if it was the weather, but I don't walk Rosie as much. I'm not walking as much just randomly throughout the day. I would get up and go for a little walk and get fresh air. I don't want to get fresh air because it's 2 degrees outside. I walk to and from the gym. Great. On my strength training days, I walk to and from the gym. On the days where I don't strength train, I go and do like a 30-40 minute walk or a run walk. And I feel like I'm still not getting close to the steps that I would like throughout the day. I mean, one day I got like 6,700 steps. I never go that low unless I'm like sick or not feeling well or something's going on. So I think next week I'm going to do a little step goal, but not one that's going to put pressure on me, but one where it's just like, get your walking pad out. You got your walking pad for a reason. You love that thing. Get that thing out and walk on it during the workday. And also after each strength training session, even if it's 15 minutes, I'm going to get on the treadmill. I'm going to walk for 15 minutes. And then on the days that I'm not strength training, I'm now going to do a 45-minute walk or a 45-minute run walk. I'll just have a little bit of a longer, warm up and cool down to kind of make up for that. But I know movement is extremely important for me and I lacked the steps that I needed last week. And then the honeymoon phase is over. The honeymoon phase is over. I definitely needed to kind of talk myself into some things last week. Some of the meals I was eating, I was just like feeling the thoughts come back in. And I was like, maybe when I come back from the gym, I'll just quickly stop and get a sub at Wegmans or something. That's not that bad. I didn't partake in any of that, but I felt some of those urges come back. And so I'm going to just spice things up next week, but not overdo it. Gonna have some fun. But overall, I felt like I stuck to the meal plan I wanted. I got my workouts in, my strength training sessions were great. Could do better with the steps, but I did the best I could last week. And I just fought off any of the urges and I stayed locked in, and that's all I could ask for. But I'm looking forward to adding an additional layer next week and kind of kicking some things into motion to hopefully have all the layers built in the next week or 2 so that maybe the last 60 days of my 90-day challenge, that's the plan, and I'm gonna roll with it and just see what I can do over those 60 days. But I think it's important. I think it's important to just keep layering on the things that you enjoy, as long as you're not getting away from your strength training and your protein Those are two non-negotiables for me. Then movement. So we're definitely gonna work on that, but I wanna thank you all for checking out this week. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will catch you all in my next video. Bye.